All right. We made it. We made it. We made it. We made it. Uh, it's been one amazing day. Yeah, getting everything squared away and, learning more about how our ANS really needs familiarity. It really does. It needs to make more positive connection, right? So I'm like, okay, okay. God had the getting back on track, even though we still do things differently. We don't go back to what He delivered us from. And that includes how we're doing things. And I'm going to break that down for you all, okay? Because, as I've said before, I remember when I got in here, okay, into this place and started to get settled in a bit, I kept trying to go back to doing YouTube videos the way I had always been doing them, but in the car. And I was having the hardest time figuring it out. Like, okay, hold on a second. Why is it so challenging for me to get back to doing, okay, let's do 5 videos like we used to do. Let's get them scheduled out. And he's like, because you don't have to do it like that anymore. He had us doing things the way he had us doing things during that season for a time such as this. Think about it. God is a preparer. Okay, he's author of the 5 P's, right? Okay, so we've got to remember that when He delivers us from something, that's it. We don't go back. Don't go back. That's it. We don't go back. There we go. I just wanted to go ahead and make sure we got that out of the way. But I am Michelle Dickey, your host for CHA Let's Just Chat show, streaming on the YouTube channel Narcissism and Cognitive Dissonance, where trauma healing and spiritual growth are front and center while combating radio frequencies for healthier living. Okay, everybody. But yeah, don't go back, because I remember it was a very strong pull. I mean, I was trying to go back to doing things, although not in the car, but in here. And it's like the Holy Spirit kept stepping in and saying, got to do a new thing now. We can utilize some of those same techniques, sure, but we don't have to do it like that anymore. We don't have to hurry up and get a bunch of YouTube video. We've got tons of content on this channel already anyway. So that would be another reason why. Because I was trying to do the exact same thing that I was doing in the previous environment with getting content posted. And the Lord said, don't go back there. Do not go back. He delivered us from that situation where we had to utilize that kind of a schedule to get things in position for a time such as this, so that we now have time without all that crazy making, without the narcissist, without the Jezebel. Okay, now we have that time. God said, don't go back to that. He said, you ain't got to do it like that no more. So somebody needs that reminder, because it's important. Because God's like, He always switches it up. Because remember, the devil likes predictability, because that way the devil will know about when he can try and pull one of his shenanigans. So we learn not to be as predictable. We got to switch things up. And what does that look like? Well, that means, okay, don't pick the same day. If we're going to go and do some short car videos, don't pick the same day every week. Okay, that's one. And then also don't pick the same time on the days that you go. But we don't have to do it the way we used to do it. All we need to do is take one piece of paper and list what short videos we want to do, and then maybe a YouTube video. And it only takes about a half hour. So we're not spending 3-4 hours in the car office anymore. Okay? But that's what we found out. It only takes about a half hour. And that's it. To get done a little something that utilizing the same technique that's giving y'all more variety as far as background and other things. Okay? just to switch things up a little bit. But we keep it rolling. Now, as far as doing live streams, this time of year, that's not going to happen in the car because it's way too hot. And we learned early on that these devices do not like that extreme heat. And when we're live streaming, it's using exactly. Whereas when I'm in Florida. So when I was in North Carolina, it was a little bit different because I had more shady places that I could set up. And we did experience the iPhone heating up and overheating, and then the live just went out, and then we had to wait till it cooled down and come back. That happened a couple times there even. So we learned that. And so God said, yeah, you don't have to do that. So you don't have to do that right now. But we don't have to do the same thing like we were doing. Listen, I know that the devil was expecting, after that incident went down, I know the devil was expecting me to still be doing everything the exact same way inside that car because of all of the bruising points that we have found, right? Elbows, where you sit in the car, tailbone, yeah. We ain't no dummy. Chosen ones are smart. We get that heightened awareness. And so it was very strategic where she placed all those bruising points during that attack because she was thinking that I was still going to be, oh, how stupid is that demon of assumption, right? Okay, well, see, that's not how God moves. See, that's the thing. The devil doesn't know how God moves. That's another reason why we don't go back to what he delivers us from. Because going back to what he delivers us from, I'm going to tell you, okay, like you're going to hear elsewhere. I shared this little bit, okay, in another video, but I got to bring it here because it fits. Don't go back to what he delivered us from. And that includes if we used to reside in a particular county or work, reside, or kind of like travel through a lot, okay? So years ago, I used to live in Miami. And that's like right next door to where I went to get confirmation in the physical from the Jezebel. And her abuse was 10 times worse than what I'd ever been through. But it was still minor because she's a weakling. She had no physical strength. And glory be to God. So, well, yeah, remember something, y'all. When these narcissists age, they lose a lot of stuff. God says they're going to perish, and they perish in that way too. That's why the enemy is obsessed with physical strength. He don't care about spiritual strength. Okay? He's obsessed with the physical strength because he knows he doesn't have it. He doesn't have any strength or power without a human host. So when the demon spirit get themselves attached to the human host, the narcissist, that's going to consume all of their energy. It's going to consume all of their strength. Basically, when those demon spirits get attached to their mind, it steals their physical strength. It steals their mind. It controls their thoughts, which in turn controls their behaviors. Which is another reason why we learn, change that thinking. Got to change that thinking. And no, y'all, no sympathies needed, okay? We y'all all this to tug at no heartstrings. We are educating you all because it is very true. We can attest to the fact that if we go back to what God delivered us from once before, he got me out of Miami. But the thing is that I went back to North Carolina, right? I kept going back to what God was trying to deliver me from. I learned that. I said, oh, okay. But see, I didn't know anything else at the time. So that lets me know that I don't, right. If I'm going to go to South Carolina, I'm not ever going to live at Myrtle Beach again. Can't do that. Got persecuted there already. Jesus tells us, once we're persecuted in one city, we got to flee to another. You never saw Jesus go back to his hometown, right? Yeah, he didn't. He never went back to his hometown. He never went back to Bethlehem. At least, I stand corrected if y'all see it somewhere, but I haven't come across anywhere. Jesus stayed pretty much, Galilee, right? Yeah, around that area. But he never went back to Bethlehem, where he was born, to do any preaching. At least, I don't know. I've not come across where he had. If any of y'all know that he had, drop that in the comments below. Iron sharpening iron, and let us know where that's at, because we're told that a prophet welcome in his hometown, right? And it says in his own country, but see, you got to remember the context. Okay, I got a lot of y'all right here in the U.S. who are part of this ministry, as well as Australia, Canada, the UK, and beyond, South Africa even. I know y'all. I'm paying attention to where y'all are tuning in from. And then some of y'all have put it in the comments when I asked you to let us know where you're from, because you never know when CHA will have a chance to travel your way. All right? Just remember that. That's how God works. So you never know, because it's going to happen. Because we are a traveling ministry as well. We can't just sit in this apartment and minister all the time. No, we got to get out there. Like Jesus got out there, right? But we don't go back to what God delivered us from. I will share something with you all, how the enemy does this. Okay, on the business phone and my personal phone. It's really amazing. But while I was living in North Carolina, I rarely got calls from North Carolina, unless it was for an appointment, right? Or family member, which was also very rare. And so I'm like, okay, I moved here, right? I'm in Florida now. This is the trick of the enemy, trying to get me to mentally live in the past. Luke 9 verse 6-2, don't do that. And so we're not. We're not. Now, my ANS, little Michelle, that's another story, but she got one foot in God's reality and the other one in the perception management reality right now. I know where she's at, because we're all there at one point in the trauma healing cycle. So even though I'm fully in God's reality, she's still, we're working on that. Okay? However, I'm getting inundated. Okay? I'm getting a lot of, inundated with a lot of North Carolina calls. And I know a good bit of them are spam calls. Trying to tell me that my Google business listing is like, I don't know, like there's something wrong with it. I said, well, I know if you go to Google Chrome and you type in consulting for heightened awareness, oh my gosh, everything that we've got out there pops up. So, okay. Yeah, and now we're in a season where we can do some fine tuning and tweaking and some updates. Absolutely. And so we don't go back. And that includes physically and mentally and spiritually. We don't go back to what God delivered us from. I don't care how tempting it is. God says, so I got you out of there. He said, don't you go back. He said, we know that the devil's temptation can be strong sometimes. But that's why James 4 verse 7, we just got to submit ourselves unto the Lord and resist the devil and he shall flee. And he does every single time. That's another reason why he stays mad all the time, because even the devil has to obey. Even the devil has to obey. All right. Yes, Michael. Hello. Okay. Challenge. Got my. Okay. Well, I know the nonstop battles. I hear you. Yep. Don't go back to what God delivered you from. That's right. Thank you for putting that in the comments, everybody. Yes, don't go back to what God delivered you from. Don't go back. Put that in the comment. There you go. All right, just a little title of this video alone spoke to your battle today. See, that's what I'm saying, when God puts something on our spirit. Because I asked him, right before I got on here, I was like, what do they need? I said, what's the reminder they need? Oh, yeah. Okay, the battle being self-talk and catching yourself trying to validate or downplay a sin. There you go. Okay, holding ourselves accountable, chosen one. We got to do that. All right, and Michael, don't beat yourself up. Okay, because we are all sinners. That's just the way it is. We are. And so if we sin the same sin again that we've already been forgiven for, as long as it's not blasphemy against the Holy Spirit, which for chosen ones it won't be anyway, because that's the only unforgivable sin. That's what the narcissists do. But ask forgiveness again. And just when God sees you trying, he's like, okay, but don't beat yourself up. That's the tip I got for you about that. I do not sit there and wallow away in no self-pity, because that's a trick of the enemy. And that's also a trick that will keep people living in the past when God already delivered us from that. See, God already delivered us from that past. He already delivered us from that sin. He forgave us once. He'll do it again. Okay? Even if we, trying to make excuses for, see, that's that cognitive dissonance talking. All right? If you're trying to downplay something like that, then that's that cognitive dissonance talking. It really is. And that's how the enemy uses that cognitive dissonance, which is a fancy term for confusion, as a weapon of deception. He'll try to trick us into thinking that, well, that wasn't as big of a deal. Hold up a second. Let me get that Bible out. Let's see what God says about that. I'm big about that, you all. When I hear somebody tell me something out there in the Matrix, I hear somebody tell me, this story or that story or what have you, or trying to tell me how I'm supposed to do something, I'm like, hold up a second. Because I now got a Bible that fits in my pocketbook and goes with me in the car. Yeah. So for whoever needs that tip, all right, if you are able to find some way to get yourself a smaller Bible and keep it in your vehicle, oh, yeah, and then, you guys, they have backpacks and I guess you could say pocketbooks or fanny packs or whatever, but have that on you, okay, to have that on you. So when somebody tells you something, say, hold on a second, and you can go grab it and look that up. Now, I often will take the phone, though, when they tell me something, I'll take the phone and I'll go to BibleGateway.com and I'll type in a particular word or verse or phrase, rather, and the Bible verses will pop up. That's another way to do it. I got BibleGateway.com, like, always. It's running in the background all the time on the phone. So technically, I got the Bible with me all the time, but I wanted a physical Bible also to have. So, because, it's a must-have, because I'm going to double-check what society tried to tell me about God, about Jesus, about me, about my life, and I'm going to go and I'm going to ask God. I said, let me double check with God on that. Let me see what he says about that. Because we know that what God has to say about it is going to be the truth. Because the devil is a liar. And so we're going to look it up. We're going to find, because we're truth seekers. We are truth seekers in God's reality. There's no way around it. And so when we feel that pull, right? Something trying to pull us back to what God already delivered us from, we have to resist that. Got to learn to resist, rebuke, say no, and no. And then, shift that mindset onto something else. Okay? Shift that mindset onto something else forward going. Okay? Shift that mindset. Say, all right, okay, hold on a second. It's trying to pull me, trying to have me go back to what God delivered me from. But I'm like, I felt that a few times. Sure. Y'all are not alone. Because sometimes the resistance that is caused by the game of narcissism is pretty strong. Yes, it can be at times. That's a spiritual sense. It can be quite strong at some points. And so we sense that. Right, it is cognitive dissonance talking, trying to talk yourself into committing what you know to be a sin and your weakness. Cognitive dissonance is where our battles are. Yeah, it is part of where they are, Michael. You're exactly right. That cognitive dissonance is that's what the world indoctrinated us with, to make excuses for not just other people's behaviors, but our own. Okay? Yeah, but our own behaviors. And that's a big part of it. We learn to stop doing that because, well, we have to, right, we've got to admit, because we're all sinners, and we got, yeah, if God delivered us from that, let's stay away from it and resist that devil. I know it's a challenge, but spiritual battle is for the mind. Absolutely. So cognitive dissonance is a big part of the spiritual battle. Absolutely. See, narcissism and cognitive dissonance, those are the two fundamental components in this spiritual battle for the mind. Because that's what it is. Because the mind is the kingdom of God. Yeah, hello, Chris. Welcome. I'm glad you made it. Glad you're able to make it. Because with the mind being the kingdom of God, that's where all our creative juices are stored. The subconscious mind in particular, because that's where our thoughts are formed, and our thoughts are spiritual paddle, right? Spiritual power. Well, yeah, our thoughts are a spiritual battle. Yes, they are. Because back and forth, you remember the time when we first learned about narcissists, right? And we were playing ping pong inside the mind. Are they a narcissist? Are they not a narcissist? Based on what we were learning about it. Because not every narcissist will exhibit everything on that checklist, so to speak. And so it does make it challenging, but I want to tell y'all, if you identify even just one red flag, stop and observe more and speak less. And you also have to take in consideration that, like ourselves, okay, that social influence, like we had to, we had to overcome some of those narcissistic tendencies that we picked up from them because we didn't know anything else at the time. And so now as we're changing that thinking, because that's part of the renewing of the mind, and we've got to remember, okay, and cognitive dissonance is induced when actions don't match words. Yes. Think about all the times that the narcissist did that, right? Their actions don't match their words. And so we were always, right? Yeah. And that's what the devil wants to see. He wants to see us constantly confused. So we learn to not allow him to do that. If actions don't match words, that's okay. We good. We're not making excuses for that. No more. That's how we overcome that. Is we stop making excuses. We don't want, yeah, and same thing with us. We chosen ones, you know what? I want to say that for many of us, we may have gotten tricked into occasionally not having our actions match our words, but I could tell you that the enemy likes to try and make it look that way. For example, right, when I had to learn the lesson, we don't go back to what God delivered us from when I went to go close that Jezebel case study in the physical because I needed that confirmation. And God wanted me to see the snake eyes, or the snake pupils. So anyhow, that's just one of many things, we learned. And it's because of that cognitive dissonance, that confusion, that we got into all of the situations that we got ourselves into in the first place. But what she was trying to do was make me look like a hypocrite, because that's what we become when our actions don't match words. So like I have step 1, I have for how to deal with toxic coworkers. Step 1 is do not get personal, right? It says separate your personal life from your work life. Go to work, get the bag, go home. Leave it there, right? Leave work at work. It takes practice, but it's totally doable. And then along with not getting personal with coworkers. Okay? She was trying to get me to merge because she was booking session, right? She was trying to get me to merge again, work and personal life. And I caught on to that, but I still needed the confirmation, and God still needed me to see the snake pupils. So there you go. But I caught on to what she was trying to do. She was trying to make me look like a hypocrite. It didn't work because she basically, she ruined it for herself long time ago. Okay? That's right. And so that's when a new boundary came about, that all consulting and coaching sessions must be booked through the website. That simple. Because she was doing the workaround, and I realized why she was doing it. She used her job as the excuse for needing to do session workarounds. I was like, okay, you know what? You're a case study. After about 3 to 4 months, I was like, okay, we'll play along, because I need to learn some stuff. This is a different flavor here. But then I started catching on to the flamboyancy. Oh yeah, I started to catch on to that. But anyhow, that's what she was trying to do, was get me to look like a hypocrite. So the enemy tries to do that. And so you got to watch out for that too. All right? If he is trying to trick you into going back to what God delivered you from, that's a good indicator that he's trying to do something to make you look like a hypocrite as well. And so, right, because chosen ones, we don't mean things like that. We are quite good at keeping our word. If we say we're going to do something, we're going to do something. We're going to do it. It may not be right away, but we do get to it. Like simplifying that receptor article for you all in the academy, we're going to get to it. I've got it on the post-it list. Okay? That's it. Yeah. The post-it list. The vision board. Okay? And then over there on the desk, I have a little post-it note holder. And so we've got the reminder there that we need to simplify that for you all. And we will. So thank you for your patience. All right? And so when you all make a video request, we're on it. Okay? Remember, we do take video requests. If there is something about this spiritual battle, or God's word, trauma healing, narcissism, the world stage, the matrix, anything, okay, don't hesitate to reach out, because that's what we're here for. And I want to go ahead and just remember that we don't need to allow ourselves to go back to what God delivers us from. And that includes old ways of thinking. I want y'all to think about that. Old ways of thinking. In other words, we're going through the renewing of the mind, right? To be transformed into the best version that God intended for us to be, right? Yeah. So as we're going through that process, we want to remember that old ways of thinking, like, okay, a good example, that we needed to have X, Y, and Z no matter what in order to complete ABC. We learn that we don't. That's not necessarily true. And we're like, okay, hold on a second. We learn to start thinking outside the box. Because when I first moved in here, I was under the impression, that I had to do thing as far as cleaning the same way I'd always been doing them. No, we learned that that's not true. That is not true at all. And so I came across this on TikTok where it was suggesting that we use vinegar water to clean with. And I'm going to tell y'all, it takes a little more elbow grease, but it works. It works. So, yeah, changing the old ways of thinking. God delivered us from that. And then how we prepare food. Another example, old ways of thinking, cooking wise. Many of us grew up. I know this is going to be a wow. Are you serious moment for some of y'all? Because you ain't got to spend hours cooking homemade spaghetti sauce or chili. No. But we're taught that, right? And I can tell you why. Because it keeps the stove on, right? What does the stove do? It heats things up, right? It keeps things hot. Keep the atmosphere hot. The enemy's all about heat, especially internal body heat. So the world has tricked a lot of people into thinking, I mean, now if you want to do it the way you do it, that's fine. But God showed me a different way. He said, you ain't got to do it like that. So he said, just get you some tomato sauce, no salt added, Italian seasoning, a little garlic, apple cider vinegar, and whip that up. Whip that up. You can use that as marinara sauce for pizza, gluten-free. I can use that as spaghetti sauce, add some ground beef. And then when I want to heat it up, I can heat it up, and I'm going to tell y'all, it tastes like it's been on the stove all day. But we're not eating for taste. In God's reality, we're eating for nutrition. That changing that thinking, right? Yeah, God delivered us out from that, out from under that way of thinking. He showed us a more simple way, quicker, easier, and less expensive, believe it or not. And it goes a long way, depending on how many meals I'm going to make with that. And so, yeah, we learned that there's a lot of things that we do not have to have in order to survive. There's a lot of things that we don't have to have that the world told us we did to do this or to do that. How many utensils do you think you need to cook with? I've got probably more than I need. I sure do. But it's just social influence. Right? Yeah, God pointed that out to me. And so I don't need to buy any more utensils for ever. Because when the pizza cutter broke, see, we were taught to think that we needed a pizza cutter to cut pizza, but I have a long knife. I was like, well, why wouldn't that do just fine? Oh, because the pizza cutter makes it a little easier, maybe. But I'm like, Because when it broke, I thought immediately, I'm going to have to replace it. And God says, no, you don't. He said, you got a knife over there. He said, that'll do just fine. Oh. Delivered me from that old way of thinking. Glory be to God. So we stopped wasting our money on things that we really don't need. And we're still in a season of figuring more of that out. But see, that's some food for thought for some of y'all. Because the world has taught us that for this particular dish, you need these utensils. For this particular... No, you don't. No, you don't. Now, if you want to use... For another example is for stir fry. If you want to use a wok, fine. That's your prerogative. But you don't have to. That's the point. A regular fry pan will do just fine. It just depends on what you got. And really... And then also space. When you're in a small space living, you have to keep that in mind. I'm going to tell you, that is teaching me a lot of lessons too, by the way. Small space living. It's amazing how much you can get in one of these little studio apartments. But yeah, you're also limited space-wise as far as dishes and utensils and things like that. But yeah, listen, y'all. I understand that Wi-Fi can go wonky sometimes for some of you, but yeah. So that's all part of it. God delivers us from old ways of thinking. He delivers us from old habits too. So if any of you are trying to break a bad habit, ask God for help. He's waiting for you to come to him. And then a lot of times he steps in anyway. So, right. A lot of, the world, there you go. That's the word tradition. Right. Tradition can mean being stuck in the same old. Nothing wrong with looking for new and innovative and better doing things. The traditional way may not be the best way. Excellent point. Excellent point. Excellent point. The traditional way may not be the best way. So we innovate. We look for new ways of doing things. We look to God and say, all right, so what is it that you need us to do now? He delivers us from one old way of thinking. That's part of purging the subconscious mind. When he delivers us from the old ways of thinking. And then he also delivers us from bad habits. I mean, listen, when I quit smoking cigarettes, I would tell you, oh, yeah, it was like, yo. And you know what's funny is because I suspected that the enemy, when the Jezebel pulled her shenanigan, right, on our physical body, the enemy probably, with the demon of assumption, because he only knows what was in the past, right? Because when my ANS was traumatized before, I used to smoke cigarettes. He was hoping I was going to go do that again. Because when God delivers us from something, we don't go back to it. That's a great example right there, because I could have easily, because my body was in a state of major tension, right? I mean, it's going to be after somebody spikes your drink and drags you down a set of carpeted stairs where you wake up the next morning and there's no carpet burn. And they're telling you this big old story that has holes in it like a strainer. My forensic analysis. Hold up a second. Okay, hold up. I'm doing a forensic analysis on my body and I figured it out. God revealed the note because the subconscious was awake. So my body's tension. Of course. It just went under a lot of stress. So I knew that. But I also knew, don't you go smoking no cigarette. Because see, at the time, I was still vaping a little bit. But I knew when I got in here, it didn't take long. I said, I got to quit this. And I did. It didn't take a few weeks. So for anybody who needs help with that, how did I do it? I had to break the hand-to-mouth habit, okay? I had to break that. God helped me do it. Okay, so what I did is I stopped taking it with me everywhere I went in the car, because when I first moved in, I had several places to go. I had to get furniture. I had the couch delivered, but I had to get furniture. I had to get, food. I had to get dishes. I had to get stuff, right? So I just didn't take it with me. And one morning, out of the blue, I didn't think about that thing until I opened up the cupboard where it was being stored. So I went a good hour or so waking up that morning, and I did not even think of it. I knew that's when it was time to get that plastic bag, got that plastic Walmart bag, put all the juice and that sucker in it, tied it, and walked it right to the dumpster. Now, every once in a while after that, I would go to reach for it. Oh, it's not there anymore. We're done with that. God delivered us from that. God delivered us from that. And so we're not going back. So we're done. We don't smoke anymore at all. And it's been that way now. Let's see, vaping, almost a year now of being vape free. And let me tell you, it's, oh gosh, yeah, it is wonderful. So, and you used to smoke like a chimney, but since you quit, you can't bear the smell of cigarette and would never go back to it. Well, see, there you go. That happens too. That happens too. And so you're safe there. But I just know that some of y'all need this inspiration because, yeah, we don't want to go back to what God delivered us from. And so he's going to make us aware of things over time. Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's going to make us aware of things that, another good example, during the very beginning, because I was a little anemic and the Lord knew that, and bouncing back and forth between hotels, you're not necessarily going to be able to eat as healthy as you would like to. So that's that. However, we did the best we could during the circumstances, okay? However, he made me realize that some of the stuff that I was buying on impulse because of the anemia and the internal body heat being very, very high. Okay, because my ANS was in a slumber again. And so I was like, oh, okay. It took a few months, like about four months or so. And I was like, hold up a second. Into the 5th month, when I got in here, it only took a few months after I moved in here before I realized, hold up a second. Hold up. We can't keep eating like that. We got to get back on that blood type diet, and that's what we did. A huge dietary reset, back on the blood type diet. And now little Michelle, the ANS, whenever she has a certain craving, though, for something, God said, let her have what she needs. She knows when enough is enough. She always had. So, yes, our autonomic nervous system is our inner child, you all. That's right. It sure is. And it can be re-traumatized when you're not aware of it. This is why I have the Trauma Intensive Healing Course #1, the inner working of our autonomic nervous system. Because I turned mine into a case study for that heightened awareness. Because see, now, once you are aware of the radio frequencies manipulating your ANS from the highs and lows to tense it up, right, and traumatize your ANS, because if our autonomic nervous system stays traumatized, eventually what happened is we followed. We stayed traumatized. Now it's like, hold up a second. Since we are balanced between the spiritual and the physical, now we're learning about that physical. Oh, the autonomic nervous system is external because the enemy can only manipulate external stuff. Okay? Well, he can manipulate internal, but the only way he can manipulate the central nervous system, which is the internal, is by turning humans into lab rats. In order to do that, he's got to manipulate the ANS first, the external, to get to the internal. Think about it. Because when your ANS is numbed, right? Yeah, if you don't know it, and you're still going around moving real fast and stuff, you just become more accident prone. And over time, turn into a human lab rat. So, listen, I know y'all, the Jezebel and her flying monkey like to pop in and see how long I can sit for. Yeah. We're not stupid. We're not stupid. We know what's up. We know what's up. All right, everybody. And so I wanted to get on here and just remind everybody, just don't go back to what God delivered you from. Just don't do it. You know, do the mental work that you got to do. Do the mental work that you've got to do. Being vigilant and aware, that's what it's all about too. We have to be vigilant and aware at all times. Well, remember, Chris, for those who don't know, I just gave a little brief synopsis of when you get dragged down a set of stairs, it's going to affect your tailbone a little bit, don't you think? Right. But, you know, air pockets finally make their way out eventually, don't they? especially when you're detoxing. Right, that's the obsession there. Wants to gauge maybe about where I might be during the physical healing process. And I don't know how in the world the enemy can gauge that by how long I'm sitting or standing. I mean, I don't know what the deal is, but it don't matter. It don't matter. God told me, he said, keep on going. Because I asked him today, I said, are we going to stand or sit for the live? He said, you're going to sit today. Because one thing about ice packing, not only does it help with the inflammation and bruising, but it helps to release air pockets. It does it because ice actually relaxes the muscle enough to where those air pockets can, because we feel it every now and again. We can feel the little blue. Oh, another one just loosed. As we can feel it because we're aware. We're paying attention to how our body is responding to certain things. That's part of getting the heightened awareness. So, yeah, that. And then I will also tell you the other reason why they're obsessed with whether I'm standing or sitting, circulation-wise. Remember, the devil is after our circulation, right? Yeah, trying to hinder and interrupt our circulation. The devil needs to interrupt our circulation so that nutrients don't get delivered where they're supposed to go in the body. Remember Colossians 2 verse 19. Because the closer we get to God, we increase. This is why I'm giving y'all, I got more coming for you on Patreon also, okay? More digital product coming for you on the Patreon channel, okay? I'll let you know. But like I said, you still probably want to check that shop on Patreon every now and again in case I've already uploaded something, but I haven't announced it yet, okay? Because that can happen too. But at the same time, I'm going to get to y'all comments on the Patreon channel too. So thank you for your patience again. So God had us getting back on track today with some things. And we have to learn that our inner child, we got to treat it as such. Okay? And so, yes, Chris. Get more stuff. That's why we're getting set up, okay, for some things. And, for those who don't know, we've got cooking demos that we put on the Patreon channel now. Okay? Every now and again, we do a cooking demo. The most recent one was where I was showing you all how I make the homemade sushi. Okay? Blood type diet approved. And so, yeah, and without all that excess salt and sugar. When I did the research and I found out that in some of your, maybe not all, but they actually add salt and some sugars for that sticky rice. And I said, oh, those are the two things we don't want excess of. So I learned how to make it. And by the way, you don't have to use jasmine rice. You can use regular white rice. Seriously. If you take that rice, okay, the regular white rice, follow the instruction for cooking it, and then let it steam. And as it gets closer to room temp, it's going to be sticky enough to make that sushi with. Oh yeah, on its own. No salt added, no sugars added. So it really is that simple. I found that out. And I went, oh. See, God delivered me from an old way of thinking that I was going to need to use jasmine rice all the time when making sushi. No, I can use regular white rice. I ain't got to do that. So glory be to God. So we learn these things. Well, yeah, it is white rice, but they also have what's called sushi rice, and it's very sticky. And the reason it's very sticky is because they add salt and sugars to it. That's what makes it sticky. But not all sushi making places do that. I actually went and got sushi from a local restaurant not long ago, and they used regular white rice. I could tell because when I got it out the next day, there were a few pieces left. So I ate that for breakfast. Yeah, we learn God's reality. We do not have to. We don't need. Let's put that milk away. All right, we eat grown-up food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Doesn't mean we can't have eggs and toast. Of course we can. All right, but you don't have to have that for breakfast. You can have it for dinner. Huh? How about that, right? There you go. Or lunch, or brunch. However it is you're doing it. Okay, everybody. Well, yeah, if you've got some crab meat for it, sure, you can do that. Yep, they do have what I know to be considered imitation crab that gets used in many places that I haven't seen them use actual real crab meat in sushi, but that would be good and probably much better for you. The imitation crab meat's okay, but I'm not a fan of it. No, I'd rather have the real thing. Well, but right, that basmati rice, yep, absolutely. So really, it's all about your preference as to what type of rice you want to use. If you want to go lower carb, you could even do brown rice. It's just going to take a little bit longer to cook. Okay, we found that out. Brown rice does. And so we just went into the and more a little bit. As God delivers us out from old ways of thinking and old patterns. It doesn't mean we won't still tap into certain techniques that are working. God will do. He's like, hey, hold up a second. Just like we went and did, right. Okay, what we went and did in the car, okay, with a few shorts and, short videos. And so we're doing that and then a YouTube one, okay, for you all. So stay tuned, okay, because I came across a question in my feed, okay, and it's a sign of hope. You'll know it by the title. All right, so stay tuned for that. And this wraps this one up, everybody. Okay, just remembering to not go back. Well, you're welcome, Michael. All of you are welcome. You are very welcome for this video, because it's obviously what God needed me to get to y'all with, is to remind you of, not going back to what He already delivered us from, because it can be very tempting. Absolutely, God knows this, and so this is why we learn this lesson. So what that means for a lot of us. That little town that I used to live in North Carolina, we're not living there no more. If we see that place ever again, it's going to be passing through to go give a speech somewhere else. It's going to be passing through. I'm not going to stop. I am not going to stop in that little town. I ain't got no reason to. There's nothing there for me anymore. And there really never was, but I didn't know that at the time. And so you all, any of you who have recently moved from one city to another or one state to another, remember that. Now, I know if some of you still have family and they're not narcissists and you visit, that's one thing. But if you are like those of us who have 85% of narcissists as biological family members, well, then we ain't got nothing going. There's nothing there for us. There's nothing there for me anymore. I'm here for you all to continue building this ministry, consulting for heightened awareness, and a growing community of spiritual warriors for Christ. So I want you all to give yourself a hug, okay? I'm sending you hugs because I know y'all need them. So there you go. And keep going. And just remember that if the devil's trying to tempt you to go back to what God delivered you from, stand firm. Stand firm in your uprightness. No. Rebuke in the name of Jesus and return it to sender, first class. Okay, there you go. As always. Oh gosh, you suffer a lot from small town gossip. Okay. Hoping to escape that little town. You will. God will deliver you from that when the time is right. I'm living proof. Fellow warriors are living proof of that. Remember Galatians 4 verse 2. It's going to always be at God's appointed time. So if you're hoping for that, you're praying for that, God's going to, He got somewhere else for you picked out already. It's just, yep, just hang tight. Okay, thank you for the hugs in return, you all. Okay, thank you. And just keep going. Too many people know the old me. Well, don't dwell on that. Because I'm going to tell you something. If they're a narcissist, they're only going to hold on the old version of you. See, God's hiding you in plain sight, Chris. Michael, all of you. God is hiding you in plain sight right now. That's what He's doing. But He's not going to let the evildoers see the new and improved version you're becoming. Because He knows they're not going to accept it. Oh, they can see some changes now. But in their mind, they're going to convince themselves, nah, that's still the same old Chris Miller. That's the same old Michael. Just like they've done with me. The narcissist, the Jesuits in my biological family. They refuse to see because they resist Jesus. Because it's no longer us who walk, but Christ who walks through us. All right, y'all just keep on keeping on. And don't fret over that. Remember, God said, do not fear. 365 times in the Bible. Do not fear. Okay? So, doesn't matter what they know, they think they know about you. You being created a new creature. And you know that. God knows that. They can hide you in plain sight. We're going to talk more about that going forward. But y'all have a wonderful rest of your blessed day, evening, morning, wherever you are. And stay tuned because we got a lot more coming. You are welcome. You are welcome. Because once it don't matter what they think. Ooh. Remember, Jesus is not just safety. He is freedom. Spiritual freedom. Glory be to God. So don't hesitate to reach out with any questions you may have. Hop on over and binge watch one of those playlists that strikes your fancy. There's something. Some of y'all need something. The how-tos over there. How-tos for healing. How-to. So hop on over there and, binge watch. Get your tips. Have your notebooks ready, like always, right? There you go. All right, everybody. So keep on keeping on. And don't let the enemy trick you into going back. Because that is living in the past. And we can't do that. And go forward at the same time. It's not going to work, right? You'll find yourself in a spiritual game of tug of war there. You don't want that. Okay? Sending love and light to all fellow warriors. Thank you for watching, listening, and for your continued support. Until next time, let's show some gratitude to the Heavenly Father. And you keep being you. In Jesus' name, amen.